You've been going to the gym, lifting things up, putting them down, drinking protein shakes that taste vaguely like drywall, and somehow your muscles still look like they're waiting for permission to grow. And here's the annoying truth. Building muscle is simple, not easy. Simple. Most people make it complicated because complicated feels smarter. They argue about the perfect exercise angle, the perfect protein timing, the perfect split, the perfect tempo, while their actual workouts look like a warm-up someone forgot to finish. At the most basic level, building muscle comes down to two things. You train with weights to give your body a reason to adapt, and you eat enough protein to give it the materials to actually build something. That's it. That's the foundation. When you lift weights, your body doesn't think, wow, what a brave little fitness journey. It thinks, this stress keeps happening. We should probably make this tissue stronger so next time it's less horrible. Muscle growth is an adaptation. It's like playing guitar for the first time. Your fingertips hurt then, over time, the skin thickens, so the strings stop bullying you. Muscle works the same way. You expose it to stress, it adapts, so that same stress becomes easier. But here's where people mess up. They think going to the gym is the signal. It's not. The signal is hard training, progressive training, training that tells your body, hey, this is not optional anymore. If you curl 10 kilos for 10 reps today, and 2 years from now, you're still curling 10 kilos for 10 reps. Congratulations, you have successfully maintained your ability to curl 10 kilos for 10 reps. Inspirational stuff. Your body has no reason to add more muscle if the challenge never changes. That's why progressive overload matters. Over time, you need to increase the demand. More weight, more reps, more sets, better control, cleaner technique, stronger connection to the target muscle. Not all at once, not every workout, not like a maniac possessed by a spreadsheet, but gradually. A simple example, you do bicep curls for 3 sets of 10. Next week, 3 sets of 11, then 12, then you increase the weight and go back to 10. That's not magic, that's just giving your body a reason to keep adapting. Now, training is the command. Protein is the construction material. Your muscles are built from amino acids, and amino acids come from protein. Meat, fish, eggs, dairy, whey beans, lentils, pick your weapon. But if you train hard and eat like a confused raccoon, don't be shocked when your results look confused too. You need both. Lifting without enough protein is like hiring workers and giving them no bricks. Eating protein without training is like ordering bricks for a house you never build. Very productive, very Pinterest. And this is where muscle growth starts getting interesting because once you understand the simple version, the real question becomes, how hard should you train? How much protein do you actually need, and why are soreness and pump not the holy signs people think they are? Let's start with protein because somehow this became either a religion or a personality trait. How much protein should I eat? Enough. Scientifically, for maximizing muscle growth, the sweet spot is usually around 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Or if you speak in freedom units, about 0.7 to 1 gram per pound. So if you weigh 75 kilos, you're looking at roughly 120 to 165 grams per day, not 400. You are not a grizzly bear preparing for winter. And if you have a lot of body fat, using total body weight can get ridiculous. A 300-pound person does not need to eat like a commercial refrigerator. In that case, a simple rule like 1 gram of protein per centimeter of height works surprisingly well. If you're 175 centimeters tall, around 175 grams is a very reasonable target. Now, yes, splitting protein across 3 to 5 meals might help a little. Your body probably likes regular deliveries more than one giant midnight chicken massacre. But let's be honest, the total daily protein matters way more. If you eat 60 grams all day and then stress about whether your post-workout shake was exactly 27 minutes after your last set, respectfully, you are focusing on the wrong crime scene. Training matters more. Always. A calorie surplus can help. Protein timing can help a little. Fancy supplements can help your wallet become lighter. But without strong training, stimulus muscle growth is limited. Food supports growth. Training demands it. And the biggest training mistake people make is effort. A lot of people think they train hard because they looked serious while doing it. That's not how this works. Effort means how close your set gets to failure. Failure means you physically cannot do another rep with good form not. I felt a spiritual discomfort and decided that was enough. Most of your sets should end with maybe 0 to 3 reps left in the tank. That means if I held your family hostage and asked for another rep, you might get one. Maybe 2, not 6. If you stop every set while still feeling fresh enough to explain cryptocurrency to strangers, you probably didn't train hard enough. And no, every set does not need to go to absolute failure. That gets messy fast. But living permanently in the comfortable zone is also not hypertrophy. That's just expensive cardio with mirrors. Then we get to volume. Volume is basically how many hard sets you do for each muscle per week. Hard sets, not emotional support sets. For most people, around 10 to 20 quality sets per muscle group per week works well. Let's say chest. You do 6 hard sets on Monday and 6 on Thursday. That's 12 for the week. Solid. But here's the trap: more is not always better. Muscle growth works more like an upside-down U. Too little and there's not enough stimulus. Too much and recovery gets wrecked, performance drops, and now you're just collecting fatigue like it's a hobby. A lot of people don't need more volume. They need better volume, better effort, better technique, better exercise execution. Not 47 sets of chest on International Chest Day, followed by a motivational quote. Now let's talk intensity, because fitness people love making simple words confusing. In training science, intensity means how heavy the weight is, not how dramatic your facial expression looked during lateral raises. And here's the good news: you can build muscle with heavy weights and low reps, lighter weights and higher reps, or a mix of both. Research shows anywhere from about 3 to 30 reps can build similar muscle, as long as you're training close to failure. That part matters, because doing pink dumbbells for 70 reps while checking your techs is not high-rep hypertrophy. That's just waiting for something to happen. In practice, most of your work should probably live around 6 to 12 reps, maybe up to 15. Too low, and joint stress gets higher, and volume gets harder to accumulate. Too high, and your lungs start negotiating your surrender before your muscles do. So the sweet spot is simple. Most sets in the middle. Some heavier work for strength, some higher rep work for variety. Not because your muscles care about your spreadsheet, but because your body responds well to smart, sustainable training. And this is exactly where exercise selection starts to matter, because not every movement creates the same kind of growth. And some people are married to exercises they honestly should have divorced years ago. Because honestly, a lot of people train like they're trying to win an Oscar for suffering. If they're not crawling out of the gym, if they're not sore for 4 days, if their soul hasn't briefly left their body during Bulgarian split squats, they assume the workout wasn't good enough. That mindset ruins progress. Muscle growth is not a punishment system. Your body doesn't reward drama. It rewards repeated recoverable stress. That means technique matters more than people think. If you're training chest but your front delts and triceps are doing all the work, your chest is basically just there for emotional support. If you're training back, but pulling everything with your arms, your lats are watching the workout like spectators. You need tension in the target muscle. That's where mind-muscle connection actually matters. Not in some mystical, be one with the dumbbell way, but in a practical way. Can you feel the right muscle lengthening and shortening? Can you control the movement instead of throwing the weight around like you're trying to impress a forklift? Especially on isolation exercises, this matters a lot. And one of the easiest upgrades almost nobody does properly is controlling the eccentric, the lowering phase. Lowering the bar on bench press. Lowering yourself into a squat. Lowering the dumbbell on curls. That part matters. You don't need to lower every rep in cinematic slow motion like you're filming a motivational montage, but you should control it. Don't just drop the weight and let momentum do your taxes. A controlled eccentric increases tension, improves technique, and usually makes each rep actually count. Inside the muscle, that tension gets detected by tiny mechanical sensors in the muscle fibers. Science is still figuring out exactly which structures handle all of it, but the general idea is simple. The muscle feels, the load turns that mechanical signal into a chemical one and starts the growth process. mTOR gets activated. Protein synthesis increases. Your cells use amino acids to build new muscle proteins. That's how hypertrophy happens. Not because your pre-workout had a dragon on the label, Not because your influencer said this one secret superset changed everything, because your body got a clear signal and had the resources to respond. Most of the muscle you actually want is called myofibrillar hypertrophy. That means the real contractile proteins inside the muscle fibers increase. Bigger muscle, stronger muscle, useful muscle. There's also something called sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, where more of the non-contractile stuff inside the muscle increases glycogen fluid, other cellular components. Basically, part of the full look. It probably plays some role, but the main goal for most lifters should still be solid progressive strength and tension. People also obsess over testosterone. Here's the boring truth. If your natural testosterone is already in a normal, healthy range, it's probably not the main reason your gains are slow. Sleep training, quality, consistency, protein intake, and actually sticking to a plan usually matter a lot more than your conspiracy theory about soy milk. There are no hacks that beat consistency. That's the part nobody likes because it's less exciting than top 3 anabolic secrets doctors hate. But it's true. If you eat enough protein, train each muscle with enough quality volume, push most sets close to failure, progress over time, and recover properly, you will build muscle. Not overnight, not in 12 days, but reliably. That's the game. And if you ignore all of this, usually nothing dramatic happens. You just stay stuck. Same weights, same body, same frustration, same annual promise that this year, I'm taking fitness seriously. That's the real cost, not failure, stagnation. So, if I had to reduce all of this science into one practical checklist, it would be this: eat enough protein every day. Train hard enough that your body has a reason to adapt. Keep most of your work in a manageable rep range. Recover like an adult and stop using soreness and pump as your main progress tracker. Your goal is not to feel destroyed. Your goal is to become harder to destroy. That's how muscle is built. Heavy enough, close enough, consistent enough, long enough. That's it. Simple, annoyingly simple.